Mr. Rickman's at the Center for Environmental Protection. He wants to build a new plant at Smallville. The man shows him dirty groundwater from the last plant. The man will prevent him from moving into Smallville until all cases against him have been settled. Rickman wants to change his mind, but the man says he can't buy him off. Rickman claims he never bought off anyone, but they instead listen to him. The man says his plants spread poison. Rickman wants to shake his hand as he leaves. When he grabs his hand, we see something strange happen. Rickman has put the man under some type of hypnosis and then feeds him the idea to commit suicide. As he leaves the building, we see the man fall on top of a car. While horse riding, Lana says that Whitney's been working extra shifts at the store due to his father's health. Chloe says she dropped her camera. Lana goes to get it. Chloe says that some surveyors from Rickman Industries came out screaming out of the woods and don't know what happened. She thinks it's Kyle Tippett, who lives in the woods. We then hear Lana screaming. A man wakes up Lana and then runs off as he sees Clark coming. They find the camera and look at the footage. Nell said that Lana has a mild concussion and wants Clark to go to the police about Kyle. Clark wants to talk to him. Lex sees Rickman and says they don't need more pesticides in water. Lex doesn't shake his hand. Lex sees him as competition. Rick wants to convince the Kents to sell their farm. Clark arrives at Kyle's. He then approaches him. Kyle doesn't shake his hand. Clark mentions Lana, but Kyle says that the horse threw her off. Clark shows him a helmet of Rickman Industries. He says he doesn't have to explain himself. He says he doesn't befriend anyone as they betray you always. At the cafe, Lex says that Rickman has set his eyes on the farm and they should be careful with him. Kyle tells Rickman that they had an agreement he would not touch Smallville. Kyle then threatens to expose him. He offers him his hand, but Rickman doesn't take it. Kyle leaves with a warning. Clark speaks with Kyle outside. Whitney comes up and then threatens him. Clark gives him a ride. Whitney's mad and Rickman notes this and then shakes his hand. Whitney is then affected as well. As Clark drops off Kyle, he warns him of Rickman. Clark drives off. Kyle's then attacked by Whitney wielding a bat. Clark seeks his car and then runs back. Whitney is aggressive and takes down Kyle. He manages to take away the bat. As he's about to hit Whitney, Clark intervenes and pushes him away. Kyle is then taken away by the police. He is being booked for assault. Whitney says he came here because he thought he would attack Lana, but was then attacked by Kyle with a bat. Clark finds it confusing as Kyle said the opposite thing. Whitney is angry at Clark. Clark believes this is all due to Bob Rickman. Lana's mad and says he accused Whitney. Clark finds the whole situation strange. Lana says Whitney wouldn't attack anyone, to which Clark answers that Whitney strung him up in the field. She thinks Clark's taking revenge. Rickman's at the farm. He shakes hands, but Jonathan's wearing gloves. Jonathan tells him he will not be selling his farm. As Rickman leaves, he pretends he twisted his ankle. As Jonathan gives him a hand, he affects Jonathan as well. We then see Jonathan's signature and he sold the farm. He doesn't understand how it happened. Martha says it will not hold up at court. He says Rickman just shook his hand. Clark goes to Lex. He tells him he will put his lawyers to work. They don't understand how this happened. Clark then says he's going to jail. A police officer is called by Rickman. He then tells him to take care of an old friend. As Kyle's in prison, he's told he has a visitor. He then grabs the cop's hands. He's walking out with his uniform. Clark then calls his name. Just then, the officer shoots Kyle. Clark runs. The bolt hits the shoulder as Clark pushes him away. The man starts shooting at them, but they are gone. Clark brings Kyle to Lex, who has someone to take care of him. Clark says he brought Kyle here because Lex is the only person he can trust. The man mentions a wound of Lex at Club Zero he took care of and says Kyle will be out until the morning. Lana is at the barn as Clark gets back. He's not happy she's there, but she's not happy that he defends Kyle. Clark stands his ground and Lana leaves. Rickman's at the cafe and wants to shake Lex's hand. He doesn't shake it and says he doesn't like him. He asks Lex why he's helping the Kents. He says they're his friends. Lex tells him his old friend has escaped jail. As he walks out, Clark asks him how he made his dad sign the contract. He extends his hand. Clark grabs it, but Rickman's unable to affect him. Clark then squeezes his deceptive hand. Chloe tells him that Kyle and Rickman used to be partners until the meteor shower. Lex takes them to Kyle. When Lex asks the nurse where Kyle is, she doesn't know him. Clark knows where he went. They arrive at his camper, ask him about the meteor shower. He tells them that they used to be the worst salesmen and can now persuade people with a handshake. Chloe wants him to prove it. He takes her hands and tells her she has feelings for Clark. She then kisses him. Chloe tells him she's ready, but is then surprised that he had already persuaded her and it happened. Clark wonders why he hides with such gifts. He was scared of it and Rickman wants to get rid of him so he can't be exposed. Rickman enters the mansion and says the guard let him in. He tells Lex to take off his lawyers as he is dropping the Kent farm as he's leaving Smallville. He extends his hand to Lex. Clark tells Lex that Kyle wants to expose Rickman. Lex says he's coming. When he arrives, he tells them he called some friends at the Inquisitor. He tells them to get in the car. He wants to fill up for Metropolis. But he locks the doors and then sprays the car with gasoline. He lights a fire and then the car's on fire. Kyle says that Rickman's got to him. Clark breaks open the doors. As they run, the car explodes. Clark runs off quickly and Lex witnesses it. Rickman arrives and then hands a gun to him. Lex enters the garage and says he knew Clark kept secrets from him. He then grabs Kyle. Clark interferes. Lex then fires at Clark. He evades some bullets, but is then hit. As Lex approaches, Clark kicks him away. Rickman waiting, he takes out his gun. Kylan grabs him and tries to persuade him. Lex is unconscious. Rickman aims the gun at himself, and we see he's dead. He tells Clark to use his gifts for good and says he'll use his for it as well. Clark still has Bruce left and he feels bad that Lex shot him. Lana enters and tells Clark they should remain friends. She asks if Chloe really kissed him. Lex says that due to Rickman's death, the contract is invalid. Lex says he doesn't know what happened and wonders where Kyle is. Clark finds their friendship unfortunate and asks if they will end up like that as well. Lex says that their friendship is gonna be the stuff of legend.